and I feel good. Know that I'm truly blessed, got more than I should. This kind of feeling I cannot deny. No more delaying and asking why. Been waiting for my moment.
Recording in progress.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me get my camera on. Welcome to episode 18 of the H2O podcast, and I am so excited about what we are going to be discussing today. The last couple of weeks, I've had a chance to discuss with you all the importance of your mental, emotional, and your spiritual health. And that is so key, as we've talked about on Monday nights. I use that as my nutritional nights. And I talk about all the different variations of how herbs and certain food selections and supplements and all these kind of things can really up-level the way that we experience our health, you know, healing to optimization. But I wanted to underscore the importance of making sure that those other components, those internal components, are in alignment, right? So our emotional fitness, our mental skill sets, and our spiritual stability and health, overall health, that also is in place, because despite our efforts to eat healthy, to work out and all those kind of things, if those other internal components are not in place and they're not balanced, they're not in harmony, then we won't be able to absorb any of those nutrients and all those other great things that we're looking to absorb from our food sources. And so today I want to take that conversation even further with our guest. But before we do, let's just stop and take a breath. That nice breath keeps us in sync with ourselves, in coherence, right? Gets us out of that constant state of stress, stimulation, and it brings us back into a rest and digest, our parasympathetic state, right? We need to have that balance, and just breathing. That alone is better than a cigarette. So what I want to do before we get started with our guest today is I'm going to do a little advertisement, and it's an intentional plug. I know there's a common phrase, shameless plug. It's very intentional. I want to highlight my parents' business for today. They are in the Houston area. They have combined, these two have almost 60 years of experience working within the hair industry. Kenneth and Andrea Robinson are the living dynamic duo who have their own respective businesses. What? Their businesses are the Barber's Corner LLC, and for Mrs. Robinson, it's Secrets Hair Technology LLC. She is also a certified hair replacement expert. So if you are finding yourself starting to lose a little hair somewhere, she can help to remedy the problem, whether it's women or men. But she does cater to many of the women. You can book your appointment by either contacting Mr. Kenneth Robinson at 817-874-3778. Again, that's 817-874-3778. Okay. You can go and book an appointment with Mrs. Robinson at secretshair.com to make your appointment for a consultation. That's somewhat old school. They want to talk to you and hear how they can help you. Again, her website is secretshair.com. That's SECRETZ as in zebra, HAIR.com. So you go and check them out. Oh, and her website, Mr. Robinson's website is krobthebarber.com. That's KROBTHEBARBER.com. So go and book you an appointment. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Without further ado, I want to read the intro of our guest today. Take all of her credentials in, and I really want to appreciate her for taking the time out to come and do this podcast. We've been planning for a long time, and circumstances have just not allowed for us, but we know that the Spirit, God, does things very well, and when it's time to do something, it's time. So Dr. Rosalind Willis is a stroke survivor and an 18-year Crohn's survivor. She has a passion to serve and reach the lost at any cost. She has a passion to empower every person she encounters, and she does. Her quote is, "As long as you got a pulse, you got a purpose." She's an international public speaker, multiple Global Awards recipient. She is a published author of 13 books and 2 international bestsellers. Domestic violence survivor and advocate, she is a wife, mother of 6, and a nana of 13. She has been an ordained evangelist for 29 years and loves outreach ministry. She is a minister, educator, and CEO of several businesses. She is a founder of BPMI Ladies Club Global Outreach, a nonprofit organization that brings women from all walks of life together to help, support, uplift, and give them life skills and tools to improve their lives. She is an educator, she's an educator at a high school. She's a high school teacher. She teaches student success and computer lab. She has a PhD in ministry counseling with an emphasis in marriage and family. Dr. Rosalind is a voice for the voiceless, and she uses her own life as a testimony that no matter what comes your way, you can survive. Remember that. She hosts Ladies' Teas outreach to bring women together for empowerment. She is affiliated with multiple female organizations. She is a member of International Society of Female Professionals. She is the Texas chapter leader for WWCA. She is the Lubbock State Chair for G100 Oneness and Wisdom Wing. She is a global ambassador for TGA. She is a global ambassador for BPMI Ladies Club Global. I'll give her a chance to unpack some of this. She is a global diversity leader for Face of Women of Hearts. She is the U.S. representative for the new country, Birland. That is definitely something we have to come back to. If we don't get a chance in this interview, we definitely have to talk about that at some point. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Rosalind Willis.
Well, hello. I'm so
excited. Are you breathing this morning,
here.
Dr. Willis?
I am breathing. Yes, I was breathing with you earlier when you did the breathing. Yes, sir.
Ain't it something how that breath would just shift an entire atmosphere, won't it?
It will do it, like you said, better than a cigarette. I wouldn't know how cigarette was, but I'm pretty sure it's better.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Are you grateful today?
I am so grateful.
What you grateful for?
First off, I'm grateful for life.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for, my family. Yeah. I'm grateful for a voice.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm grateful for just my presence in this earth realm. Yeah. I'm very grateful.
It's a unique time to be here at such a time as this, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
Very
yes, it
time.
is.
Well, we don't have much time, but I know the time that we're going to use together. It's going to be really, really good. And you know that we're going to have to do this again,
Oh, yes.
even before we get to the end. I just know we're going to have to do it again and just talk about so much that's going on in the world and truly be a voice for the many shifts that are happening right now. And really just discerning the time of when to speak and discerning the kind of narrative and words that we need to speak into the atmosphere, so to speak, or the kind of vibe of vibrations we want to send out. But random rhyme and reason, you are in Post, Texas during the fall, and we've just entered the fall season. What's your most memorable and favorite memory and why?
Oh, man, there's so many, but one of my most favorite memories is fishing with my dad.
Wow.
And the reason is because number one, when it's in the fall, it's so beautiful. Sitting at the right there at the Post Park. It's only one park in Post, Texas, but it's so green and beautiful, and you can see, the waters and just everything is just really, really nice. It's always been real tranquil for me. And so going fishing with daddy early in the morning and sitting there, competing. We always would compete with who could get the first fish. And most of the time, daddy would get the first fish, but the last few times I think I got the first fish, and he was like, "What?" So those are my best. That's my best memory is fishing with daddy, around this time.
Wow.
Yes.
And I was so fortunate enough before he transcended to come out and actually fish with you all. And so thank you for allowing for me to share
Yes.
this with you. Now I didn't fish much, and I'll be honest, I was jumping back at some of those. I'm a country boy. I
Yes.
grew up country, but I got cityfied after a while, and I'm making an intention to retract and get back to my country roots. Okay, so we got your favorite memory established. You are feeling good. We've had our breathing techniques. You have shared your gratitude. Tell us who you are. Who is Dr. Roz?
I am, still evolving. But I am a person of passion. I love and I love hard. I'm a person of transition. I go through a lot of changes. Sometimes we go through changes and we don't even realize that every moment is a changing moment. I've learned to embrace those changes and transitions. I am a writer. I'm very passionate in my writing, which I'm pretty sure we're going to talk a little bit about. I am a speaker. I am the voice for the voiceless. If I'm around someone and something is happening and they're not saying anything, I will speak up for them.
Yeah, you would.
I have no problem doing that. I am an educator, newly a teacher for high school, and I am so in love with my students. I mean, I am so in love with my students. So I'm learning even more parts of who I am. That's why I say I'm evolving, because I'm learning. It's a totally different setting for me with the high school, and so I'm learning how to embrace this part of my life with this transition. But I'm loving it.
Excellent. And it definitely takes a special kind of love and skill to work with high school students. I've worked with high school students off and on for, I guess, over a decade now. And so it's been an interesting journey. And I hope that they'll have a chance to actually watch this interview and hear how much they are loved and they are appreciated, and that they can be encouraged and uplifted. And yes, we're going to get into your writing and get into this book, because the buzz around the street, not only in these internet streets, but at your schools, at the schools, are on fire about this story. And there's been a lot of fired up discussions happening around the conversations with this book. I read the book in one day, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I read it just in a meal time and couldn't hardly eat my food because I was reading the book. But before we get there, what do you want to be remembered for the most? And I know we're kind of jumping at the end.
Mhm.
This kind of questions normally asked at the end of an interview, but I want to start it with that. I want to kind of move us in that direction as we talk about being a voice for the voiceless. I don't know if you said legacy, but I heard it up under the layers of what you talked about, leaving that legacy and establishing something. What do you want to be remembered for and why?
I want to be remembered for my empowerment. Because and the reason is because, you know, I want people to understand no matter what, that they matter and that they are valuable. And so when they look back and they think back, I want them to always say, I tell my students all the time, I say, remember Coach Ross say you're valuable. Coach Ross say you are somebody, you are important. And that's what I want to be remembered for. You know, I want people to always remember no matter what, because my great grandmother spoke wisdom to me. And here I am at 50 years old, and I still remember the things that she said to me. That even when I was at my lowest points, it was the things that she spoke over my life that kept me going. So I want to leave that type of a legacy with others, you know, a word of empowerment, a word of the wind behind their back, pushing them forward into their destiny. That's what I want to leave behind.
And I gotta say this, and y'all gotta join me in these, again, internet streets. I know we can't hear you right now, but don't she make 50 just look good?
Thank you.
Yes, you do. Making 50 look, make us expect to get to 50 and look as good. Okay, healing to optimization. What does that mean to you?
So healing to optimization, I'm thinking, okay, so when you think about healing, healing is a process. And so as you are being healed, you're growing and you're embracing this. That's the optimizing part, is you're embracing the healing process. And as you're embracing the healing process, you know, it's literally like coming out as pure gold. You're being molded, you're being sculpted in the process. So when I hear that, that's what I think about. You know, no matter what you've been through, you're going to heal through it. And while you're being healed through it, you're optimizing, you're maximizing every moment, every time you get a chance to speak your voice of the healing that you've experienced, you do so. So that's what healing and optimizing means to me.
Awesome. Awesome. So that set us up to talk about this book, Ocean's Journey. Tell us about, what is this Ocean's Journey? Where did the idea come from? Yes, it's kind of fake. We can see it in the background there, but
Yes.
Tell us about Ocean's Journey.
So my dad went to be with the Lord on August the 25th of 2019. And I had been pretty much his caregiver, helping to take care of him, relocated from Abilene, Texas to Lubbock to help take care of him. And even though we knew that the doctors were saying that, you know, that his health was not good, I remember praying and asking God to give us more time with him. And he granted us that. He granted us more time with him. And so when my dad went to be with the Lord, I didn't realize how much of my time was consumed with taking care of my dad and spending time with my dad. So I found myself in three positions. One, I was so hurt and broken because my dad was gone. Two, transitioning to a life without daddy. And three, looking for a healing. And I found myself sitting in a room. I went to try to get a job. Well, I got a job with the company, and I was going through training with that company. And they would say, okay, you have some downtime, you know, we're going to do this, and you have some downtime. So I picked up a spiral, and I had training for 10 days. I picked up a spiral and started writing. And before I knew it, 10 days had passed and I wrote a whole book in 10 days. While writing, it was healing me.
Wow.
And it's literally like God stopped time to allow me to write every day. Yeah. Every day. It's like I would start at a certain time and I would stop. And when I was, it was like the timing was so perfect. Soon as I stopped for that day, they would say, okay, now let's start working. And it was like the Lord literally allotted that time for my healing. And that's how my healing process began. Now Ocean's journey it's a part of my testimony. But at the same time, to protect the people in my life, I made it as a nonfiction book. I made it to the point where other kids could understand and relate to Ocean's story.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. While you were speaking, of course, I've had the pleasure of walking with you in many, many, many different chapters of your journey. So even though I've heard many of your stories, you've heard many of my stories, reading the book still felt like something so different and so unique. And it felt like something like a different world was created. And I could hear your stories and I could hear you, but it was like the characters they were their own entities. And that was what the appreciation that I have as someone who knows you and knows your stories. I thought that was so powerful. And the way that you were able to convert your pain, your sufferings, all of that, the way that you converted that to its highest good into a book and put it into the details of these stories and these characters was just absolutely beautiful and amazing. Let me move on. I know we don't have much time. How does the story relate to healing and working through pain, shame, blame, or trauma? You've kind of touched on that a little bit, but if you can give us a little bit more elaboration.
So, with Ocean, as you see when you read the book, she goes through a traumatic episode. But even through her process of healing, you will see, even on the second book that's coming out, but you will see how her pain birthed her purpose. You're going to see how no matter what you go through in life, it's preparing you for something greater than you can even see. And so even with my own self, when I went through my different things that I went through as a teenage girl, being a teen mom, getting pregnant at 18 and having my son at 19, even though I wasn't as young as Ocean is, I had a lot of similarities, of looking for love in all the wrong places, of trying to make someone fill a void in your life, and really, really putting yourself out there because you want that love. And so many, like I said, so many young girls and boys are going to be able to relate to this story because they've been in Ocean's shoes, or they may be in Ocean's shoes, or walking toward that place. And so they'll be able to find themselves in any facet in this book.
No doubt. And I'll just quickly testify to that, because though I have not I'm not a parent. I definitely have never been in a situation as a teenage parent or anything like that, but I am a product of a teenage mother. Mm-hmm. And to experience the shifting emotions and the journey that you go down with Ocean, it was very, very eye-opening, because I had a chance to potentially think about my mother's own experience. And to see that as a teenage mother, the traumas that you're trying to wrap your mind around, research suggests that young people, we don't develop our brains fully, or humans in general don't develop our brains. Women, it's 20, men, it's about 25.
That's right.
Us men species, it take us a little bit longer, and I would darn near say probably 30 before our brains are actually able to develop. And so to have such a life-changing experience take place when your brain has not even fully developed and your emotions have not fully developed is quite something to work through. Okay, so you've already touched on my next question. Is there a particular target focus group for this book?
Yeah, just really young adults. That's really my target. And my mindset was I want to get the young ladies to really see their value before getting into a relationship with a young man and trying to give away their self because they want love. And I want them to see that in this book, because you will see that with Ocean. I'm pretty sure when you read it, you see that she was a commodity for him until she lost her virginity. And without telling the whole story, but just to kind of give the audience a little taste. But it literally shows you how you can be devalued for something that is so valuable and so precious. I believe as a society, we have not put enough emphasis on young men and women remaining pure, until the time that they need to give themselves away. I believe that we've almost at some particular stages. I know when I was coming up, it was something that you were made fun of if you were a virgin.
Oh, no doubt. Still in
You
my
know what
day.
I'm saying? Yeah. And so then there was a time when there was a generational time when it was you were precious for being a virgin. And then it went back to the whole making fun of. I've seen so many different cycles of this the V, as this generation call it the V. Is what I'm learning in high school. Okay. Learning all those terms that they use now. And I actually asked my class, like, is it a bad thing? And so some kids are like, I think it's a good thing. And then you have some kids be like, I don't believe it's no virgins out there. But just to show their mindsets, because it's where they're at. If they've been exposed to a lot of sexual activity, they don't believe there's nobody out there that can be a virgin.
Sure.
Right? But if they have been protected, if they've been nurtured, if they feel like, then they do believe that, because most of the time they're virgins themselves, even if they don't voice it to their peers. And that's what I'm learning.
No, there's so much in that we just don't even have the time to unpack, because when you have children who've been exposed to rape, molestation, these kinds of things, that's a very not only taboo, but it's an awkward stage to work through when you talk about giving yourself away to someone as opposed to it being taken from you, and then navigating all of the sexual expressions or your body developing very early when you get exposed to sex, and then try to navigate, okay, so am I a virgin? Am I not a virgin? Do I protect this? Do I not protect? Okay, what does the culture say about this?
Exactly.
And high school is a very, very challenging time to navigate all of those topics and conversations. So I applaud you for being there with those kids and being able to create a safe space for this kind of conversation to be had, especially for young men. And I have to voice that for young men who are very conflicted about how to preserve themselves, even if you've already had sex, whatever your sexual encounters have been, how to preserve yourself or make the decision to say, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with me having sex. There's a lot of not just the physical responsibility, but the emotional and the mental responsibility of having to work through that. And I do agree with you that unfortunately, the culture many times have drowned out the importance of firstly having the conversation.
Yes.
Normalizing the conversation around these things, because let's just be frank and honest. If it was for no sex, none of us would be here.
True that. That's true. That's true.
Okay. Let me reel it back in. What can we expect from Ocean and her journey moving forward?
So with book 2, you're gonna get to see a little bit more about Ocean. You're gonna get to see like I said, again, the transitions with Ocean, being able to understand, what it is. This time you'll get to see the beginning of her being a mother on book 2. So I kind of got you guys a good taste for her. for the book and the characters. I wanted to make sure that each character had a voice.
Yeah.
That, introducing this book, I wanted to make sure that everyone had their own favorite character, and they do.
Yeah.
And so going forward, you're going to be able to see through the eyes of a young girl that quickly life has changed, dramatically, but she's been able to embrace every stage. So you'll get to see that with Ocean.
Oh, good. And not to give too much away, but I will say there's a great cliffhanger as the book ends, on book one anyway, that there's been so much conversation around. Oh, I've had my own thoughts about what's going to happen, and I'll voice those to you. And I'm really trying hard not to have that conversation right now, because I want people to actually go read and purchase the book.
Yes.
Well, I want to ask you, where can people find the book? Where can they go get it? Just kind of talk to us about where, the wins, where is, hows, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, you can find the book on my website, tnrbirthingbookpublishing.site, or you can get it from Amazon.com, or you can get it from me. You can inbox me and cash out me. If you get it directly from me, it's just $10. The other websites is going to be $15 to $20. Okay. But if you get it directly from me, I am going to just sell it for $10. That's what I'm doing right now for the next probably 2 months. Is going to be just $10 if you get it directly from me.
Beautiful.
And it'll be signed if you get it from me.
Beautiful, beautiful. I encourage everyone, go get this book. This is definitely in alignment with the H2O movement of healing to optimization and working through the very uncomfortable places of trauma, no matter who you are. I love the statement you made that each character had a voice, and that you intended that every character had a voice, and that you find yourself in each one of these characters, whether it was her father, her mother, the doctors, each character, you can maybe find yourself in each one of these characters.
Yes.
Your title, beyond Dr. Rosalind Willis, what kind of coach are you?
I am a life purpose coach. Okay. I'm the birthing purpose coach. I help people to birth their purpose. There's things in us, sometimes we don't even know what's in us. We walk around pregnant with purpose, but because you've been through trauma and different things, you feel like, oh, you know what? There's nothing I could do. But quite the contrary, there's so many things that God has placed in us because he knew where he was taking us. So we had to go through some of the painful things so that we could have those conversations. So I am that type of coach to pull out of you what's been laying dormant inside of you all of your life.
Beautiful. Well, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you for speaking, singing, healing, birthing?
So you can find me on, I have 2 Facebooks, Rosalind L. Willis. That's one of my Facebook. And the second one is Rosalind Midwife Willis. That's on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Coach Rozzy, and that's Rozzy. Bubba helped me with that name, Rozzy. Okay. On LinkedIn, I know. I'm sorry, Roderick. I'm sorry. On LinkedIn, I'm Dr. Rosalind Willis. And on what is the other one?
Twitter.
On Twitter, I am the Birthing Purpose Coach on Twitter. And you can also get me at Keeping It Real with Coach Ross coming off mute. I do have a global television show where I do interviews and things like that, where I keep it real and 100. So again, I am the Birthing Purpose Coach that remind everyone that I meet that as long as you got a pulse, you got a purpose.
Beautiful. And what I'll do is I'll collect all of those handles and places where people can contact you and make sure I put it in the bio once this is promoted and people can access you at all those various places. What's your greatest accomplishment to date as we are wrapping this thing up? Your greatest accomplishment to date?
My greatest accomplishment to date is I have been nominated for a global, and I have not put it out there yet. So this is the first platform for me to even say that, but for a humanitarian award. And I'm really I'm really proud of that. It'll be my first time when I go, which y'all will see that. I'm not gonna get the details of when it is, but when I do walk to receive it, it'll be my first time actually walking. Even though I got all these degrees, I've never been able to go through the whole graduation thing, and that's a whole nother subject. I have to come back and talk about that.
Yes, you will.
So it's a really big deal. That's something that I'm looking forward to. It's a new beginning for me in so many areas. So that's my greatest accomplishment, for someone to acknowledge all the things that you've done, even though you didn't do it for acknowledgement, is an amazing experience. So I'm excited about that.
Okay. Last two thoughts. Who is Dr. Roz September 27th of 2027 at 10 a.m. CST time?
A woman of love and passion.
Awesome. Final words.
Please do not allow anyone to stop you from being the best you that you can be. Show up in your fullness and maximize every opportunity to tell the world your truth, your story, and love yourself.
There's nothing more to be said from that. Thank you so much for a beautiful interview, very impactful. I hope that you're able to share this with your students and whoever else. And I'm not gonna say nothing else, but we love you, H2O. Join the wave. This is yet another great episode, episode 18.
Thank you so much for having me.
What a pleasure and an honor. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end it.